Join us as we speak with a whole host of expert navigators through the land of parenting. They'll offer you stories, validation, and a few directions to help you find your way if you're feeling a little lost. Welcome, Sonya. Great to have you here. So we're welcoming Sonya Elek today. She is a mum living in Perth in WA, and after nearly 25 years of teaching music in schools, Sonya decided that changing careers was the best way she could help protect her sons and students from the worst impacts of climate change. Since late 2024, she has been working as a community organiser with the Conservation Council of WA and last month began working in a similar role with Parents for Climate. Sonya also volunteers as a local leader with Parents for Climate and as a climate conversation facilitator with Climate for Change. Sonya is a keen permaculture student and is proud to have a thriving worm farm, although the same can't be said for her garden, and we have that in common. My poor garden is not looking good at the moment. Just a few days of sunshine and me forgetting to water.
Yeah, exactly. Well. That's what it is.
Yes.
Yeah, but the worms are good.
Really? Because they're quite demanding.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just keeping them the right temperature, and I've discovered is the knack.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Oh, we could talk more about that.
Finding the right spot.
Yeah. Stick to parenting, but we can talk about worms later.
Yeah.
So I'd love to ask if you could share a bit more about yourself, how you got to this point, and why. We were talking before the podcast about the links between your passions in the world of Parents for Climate and the links here in this podcast around mindfulness, attunement, play and self-care. So, how did you get here, Sonya?
Yes. I would say I was in a state of not being very mindful. I was just doing. And I was doing something I was passionate about, which was teaching music, and I was totally focused on that. And when I was 10, I decided I wanted to be a musician. So I just thought that's all I would ever do and be. And then at the end of 2020, I read a book by David Attenborough called A Life on Our Planet. And it was, at the time, he was 94 years old, and he was talking about all the changes he'd seen in the living world over his lifetime. And something just really clicked for me. He explained processes like climate change, and there's another thing called the planetary boundaries, which is like looking at kind of the limits of the Earth systems and how close we are to crossing them in lots of different areas, not just climate. And just, I think he was just someone I trusted. Yeah. So hearing that from him in the form of a book as well that I could just flick back through and take it all in and trying to understand it and process it, I feel like that's when I actually first became awake. Because before that I was living in this kind of dream where I'd heard about climate change. Like I'd even been to Alaska and seen like a melting glacier and like before and after photos, but I hadn't connected it to my life. I'd seen the Black Summer bushfires. I'd seen kids going on strike in the school strikes for climate. And I think these were all things that were kind of like, you know, when you're asleep and someone gives you a little bit of a nudge. Yeah. And it was like I was starting to wake up, but then reading this book really woke me up and made me think, well, hang on, this is actually a real problem. The people in charge aren't doing what this book says needs to be done to protect my kids. And I was also really angry at the media because I was like, why isn't this on the front page of the newspaper? Why aren't they saying this is a big problem that we need to be doing something about? And I thought, well, I need to do something. So I started with plastic because that's where a lot of people start because that's something that's very tangible. You can't see carbon in the air, but you can see the plastic pollution. And that was one of the planetary boundaries pollution that Attenborough talked about. So I started with plastic and shopping differently at like stores where you could go and take your own containers and refill them. And then I also I joined like a local Friends of Bushland group, so just a group of people, volunteers that care for the local bushland. And then from there I went to like a workshop on how to meet your MP because I realised that I had no interest in politics before I'm reading that book. Like I voted when I had to, but that was it.
Yeah.
I didn't talk about it, didn't follow it, didn't really care because I just trusted that it was working.
Yeah.
But when I read that book, I realised it's not working. I need to get more engaged. So I went to this workshop on how to meet your MP. And, yeah, I think just since then I've just been sitting back more and looking at how things are actually going. So that's the mindfulness and attunement side of things for me.
Yeah, tuning into what's really happening.
Yeah, and not just thinking it's always been like this, it's always going to continue like this, I don't need to do anything. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I was listening to a book the other day that represented the history of the world in the space of a year. Mm-hmm. And I think it said like humans over the course of the year have been around for like 5 days.
Yeah.
It was very interesting to think about that because we think it's just always been this way and it always will be, but actually we're a tiny blip.
Yeah, exactly. And like just accepting that changes and seeing that changes are happening all the time.
Yeah.
And people get kind of stuck in this thing like they resist change, but it's actually happening all the time. And you can either ignore it and pretend it's not happening or you can be part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to be part of it.
Beautiful. Oh, that's amazing. So this podcast is around giving parents maps for direction, I guess, for what's a pathway we can follow, particularly when things feel overwhelming. And I have to say, one of the things that I find really overwhelming as a parent and as a human is this stuff, is climate. So what's been a map for you that's worked and that's helped?
I write lists.
I love it. Yep.
Even as a kid, I wrote lists, and that has always helped me like have a visual kind of visual goals, I guess, and things to work towards. When I started my getting off plastics, I wrote a list of everything that was in my pantry that had plastic packaging and ticked off when I transitioned to non-plastic. And so being a list writer helps me. Something else that helped me, actually before I read the David Attenborough book, when my sons were really little, like 1 and 3, I read this book called Time Management for Manic Mums.
Oh,
it was
good
very
title.
appropriate. Yes, it caught my eye. And so in that book, the author talked about like actually recognising and kind of putting down on paper what are your values, what's important to you, and then track how you spend every minute of your day just for like a few days, and then actually look at whether what you're doing and where you're spending your time aligns with your values. And so the way that you kind of did that was you drew up this 4 squares on a piece of paper, so like quadrant, like the old-fashioned kind of window, and like one of the squares said important and urgent. Mm-hmm. Another was important and not urgent. One was not important but urgent, and then not important and not urgent. And I went through and looked at how I was spending my time in my day and classified it into each of those quadrants, and just saw that I wasn't doing things that were important to me based on my values that I'd already come up with. And that was actually when I decided to go back to uni and study music education.
Yep.
And I think I've carried that thinking through to this kind of waking up moment about climate. And so I've been thinking, even though I started with plastic because it was doable and easy, I've always been kind of thinking, okay, what is the most important thing to be doing? What's the most effective use of my time as well? And trying to focus on that. So I learned pretty quickly that individual actions are what we're actually encouraged to do, and it seems to be the most doable, but it's actually not the most efficient or effective thing or impactful. Yeah.
Yep.
So going to that MP workshop connected me with other people who were doing things. So I think being part of a group is really important, and because then you've got something called collective power, which is really the only thing that will change systems. So,
I'm curious about, as a parent as well, just I guess your thoughts on what do I want to know? Like how your kids see this, how it's impacted your sense of yourself as a mum in the world. Like what's...
Yeah, it actually really turned everything upside down in my life and for my family, because it hadn't been an issue until my sons were like 15, 17. And they thought they knew who I was. I thought I knew who I was and what was important to me, and then it all just kind of flipped. So there was a really kind of difficult transition period for my family when I was like, I just had to talk about climate all the time.
Yeah.
And I just ended up getting banned from talking about it at dinner because it just created too much tension and arguments.
Yeah.
And my family just got sick of hearing about it. But I think we've found this kind of comfortable spot where I can talk about it with my family. It's not a priority for them, but they can see that it's important to me.
Yeah.
And like my husband will come along he won't go to protests and things because that's a bit out of his comfort zone. But he'll come along to like documentaries about climate change or like listening to people speak and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been trying to find something that fits with each member of my family to talk how to talk about it, ways that they could engage or support me or just hear about what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's a big part of this work as well, is trying to think of ways to reach people because particularly parents, we are, and I speak from experience here, we are so focused on the day-to-day and just surviving, especially at the moment with financial challenges and housing challenges. Parents are really doing it tough.
Yeah, so everything's in that important and urgent.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good framework, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I guess the climate is getting more urgent, but it feels not urgent, doesn't it? So it's important, but it's down the list somewhere.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't feel immediate.
Yeah.
Like it's not. We're not all going to die tomorrow from it. So like it's like, okay, I need to feed my family. I need to go to work. I need to fill out this form for an excursion. Like that feels more
And we've
urgent.
only got so much energy. So what kind of self-care do you engage with to help you move through all of this?
Yeah, I did a session with a group called Climate Justice Union. So that was a few months ago, earlier this year, when I felt really overwhelmed by all this stuff that was happening. The North West Shelf gas plant had just got approved to keep processing gas to 2070, and I just thought, what can I do? Like, I can't cope. And I went to this session with Climate Justice Union. It was online and it was a psychology kind of counselling kind of space, and it was with a group of people who were also worried about climate and especially the things that were happening at the time. And I found that really useful. I never go into things like this thinking I'm going to solve it, but I know that just being able to talk about it with other people and be heard and put your concerns into words really helps.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting because I find that my role over many years has been to listen to parents talk about whatever their worries are, whether sometimes it is climate and grief about climate and big stuff or big world events, and often it's day-to-day interactions and challenges with relationships. But having an opportunity to talk with others who understand, you don't feel so isolated.
Exactly, and people with being able to talk about it openly with people who you don't have to defend your position with or explain why you are worried. They get it because they're also worried. Yeah. And I think with kids, like my sons I feel like they haven't really woken up yet.
Yeah.
So they're not really worried about climate. I haven't talked about it much with me. But kids that I've taught, like, because when I was teaching music, like I talked about climate and environmental issues, and kids there would come up, and the kids I was teaching were like 10, 11, and I just think giving them a safe space to be able to talk about what they were concerned about was really important. So that's one way that we can help kids, is just maybe asking them how you feel about it, have you thought about it, but not pushing them too hard.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, but also for them to see that the adults in their lives are doing something. Yes. That's really key.
I agree.
And then also to actually give them a way to do something, because I just love this quote or mantra, whatever you want to call it. Action is the antidote to despair. If you can do something, then it feels like you've got some power or some control. And even for a child, they can definitely do things about climate. They can even go with you to meet your MP. I think that's
very powerful.
Yeah,
I agree.
And see that democratic process happening.
Yeah.
And be part of it.
I love all these practical ideas and like the mantra. That's great. So another question we ask on this podcast is around what's been a true north point for you as a parent, and I guess balancing this work with your parenting of now young adults who everyone keeps telling me as my boys get older, you're still pretty demanded of, even once they've launched into the world. So, what's been your true north, the thing that you come back to again and again to help you through?
I think for me it's always being honest with myself and listening to my that inner voice that was probably kind of sleeping for a while before, but now is very much awake, but also just checking back in with that inner voice and like my gut and my instinct. I'm pretty like in touch, intuitive, and just listening. If something in me is saying this isn't working or this isn't right or this doesn't actually fit with what you think is important to you, I really listen to that and question that and try to always go back to those values and, think about the priorities and,
Yeah, I think that's a great exercise to put that time aside and think about values. I love that mapping that you did.
Yeah, and I'm very much I like to write things down. Yeah. So just if I'm finding I'm in a messy space, just write down what I'm thinking and, get it all out there and, just clarify things.
Yeah. And so if people listening in would like to learn more about Parents for Climate or get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, well, they can just check out our website. So parentsforclimate.org. I think it's .org.au.
We'll put the link in the show notes.
Yeah, awesome. And I will send you my you've got my email address.
Yes.
Actually, I'll send you the Perth Parents for Climate email address, which I have now. So,
fantastic.
So people can email me at that. And I would just really encourage people to think about, just to pause, actually. Just to pause and think honestly about, because I know, I was talked with someone last week who said she does work in climate and she has women coming to her sessions and they have partners who work in the fossil fuel industry, and the reason they're going to her climate sessions is to try and just ease some of that guilt about being part of this system. And I would say that's good. It's a start. And I think the next step is to actually have a conversation with your partner about how you're feeling about that and be honest with them and with yourself and just see where it goes.
Yeah. Thank you, Sonya. I've really enjoyed hearing your stories and some of your really great practical ideas for parents to use as they navigate the big stuff alongside the still big stuff of parenting. So I really appreciate you coming in. And thank you so much for all the passion and commitment you're putting into this. It's really inspiring.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This podcast is produced by Meerilinga, thanks to funding from Healthway. I'm Belinda Smith, Manager of Parenting Services at Meerilinga. If you'd like to know more, you can visit our website, www.meerilinga.org.au, or if you'd like to get in touch, send us an email, parenting@meerilinga.org.au, or visit us on socials.